from my home to your home. This workout will be a nice complement to the trigger point therapy that I just did, again, stretching and working out. I've received feedback from you on doing some more movements with arms, so I will be doing that with this workout, as well as relieving tension from the shoulders will involve the hips. So as we have been doing with Pilates classes at the Y, I'm going to have you go into back extension. You could use a roller or a block, or you could use a pillow. So just rolling back and allowing that chest to be a little bit higher than your head and opening up your chest and just closing your eyes for a couple of minutes and breathing. Feel your chest opening, relaxing, heavy into the mat. Breathing. Long, deep breaths. Bringing your hands by your head, bring your chin into your chest with support and coming up into sitting. Coming into that teaser position, holding on or not, getting those shins parallel to the mat, towel or band. Having your feet touch the mat for this, or one foot touching the mat, or both up. Pulling that towel away to engage your shoulders with your exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale overhead. Use your breath to create that flow. Shoulder engagement as those arms go overhead. Long spine, feeling the length of that spine. So taking the band or using your arms without the band, opening out to the side and releasing it. You gauge intensity by how you hold that band. But with or without band, use your shoulders to pull those arms back, feeling the shoulders initiating the movement. Your arms floating without the band or more intensity with the band. You can adjust as you do this, doing 8 to 10 repetitions. Finishing up and coming back, walking your feet out, lengthening your spine, and leaning back, hinging at the hip. Just 30 degrees, coming up with your core. So inhale, lengthen, and exhale, hinge. Just 30 degrees, keeping that spine long, and coming up. If I go back too far, I will round my back. You want to use your core, your spine. And then I'm coming up without pulling with my shoulders, but using my core. It's intense. Adding those arms will increase your intensity. Do what works for you. You should feel this in your core, in your legs, and those hip flexors. So you should be feeling that you're about done at this point. Coming back into teaser, rounding the back and letting it stretch. And then inhale, straighten your spine. And exhale, scoop your belly. Any spinal issues, you will want to stay with this. Or move into rolling like a ball. Really pulling your belly back and rounding that back. Holding underneath or on top of your knees, down to your shins. Or to your ankles, more challenging. Smooth control, rolling just to your shoulders. Let this be your spinal massage. Doing one more, going into single leg extension.
twisting with the core, seeing how the knee stays over the hip and the shoulders and elbows stay out to the side, the twist coming from the core. Breathing with this. Stopping when you need to, but bringing your legs in and giving yourselves a hug at this time. Extending those legs overhead and bringing them towards you, and then scooping that belly back. Create length in your belly and then folding over. Notice that you pause at that end range of motion. Challenge yourself, but control. Going into obliques, knee to shoulder. Shoulders are wide on the mat, taking the weight of that lower body movement. My chin staying in close to my chest. Getting your towel, again, tabletop. Pulling the towel and releasing it as you go back overhead with an exhale. You can bring your feet down if those legs are tired, or you can bring one leg up at a time. You're inhaling on the return and exhaling as you go back overhead. Rib cage is knitted together. Adding toe drops if you wish. Noticing that the movement of the leg coordinates with the arms. Coming up slowly as you go down. Feel the core help to bring that leg back up, particularly the one side of the pelvis. Give yourselves a hug. Walking your feet out or bringing them closer, depending your intensity. You're going to lift up into a high bridge, squeeze those glutes, and then roll down through your spine. So moving in and out of this, maybe using your breath. Squeezing those glutes helps to take weight off that sciatic area. And if your sciatic is problematic and your low back is okay, you want to go high and feel those glutes tighten. And then work on flexibility of the spine using your abdominals. Sinking your ribs and rolling down one vertebrae at a time. And going into a low bridge now, focusing more on the back of your legs, crossing your ankle over, you're going to drop that right knee down and coming back. Placing your hands on your hip, because the real movement comes from your hip. That left hip lifting and then going back to neutral. Feel that. Your visual focus goes to that knee, but the knee is really assisting those hips moving. Feel that you're stretching and moving. And bring it down. Crossing that other ankle over. And again, moving that right hip up and bringing it back to that neutral. Hands on the hips. Just another method of feeling the movement. Visual goes to the knee, but the real movement is the hip moving. Let it feel good. Do it within your range of motion. Our hips are all so very different. Let it feel good for you. Extend it and bring it down. Lifting one leg up now and swinging down and up. Hands on your hips as that leg lowers. You want to keep that right hip lifted. So leg movement with pelvic control. Change legs when supporting leg dictates. You should be feeling the back of your leg, your hamstrings working. If you're not feeling that, you may want to walk your feet out a little further and that will give you a little bit more. Or if those hamstrings are very sensitive, you may want to walk your feet in a little bit. Or you may want to lessen your single leg work and just continue to lift up and down into your high bridge. This is your workout. Do what works for you. You should be feeling your hamstrings at this point. They should be getting tired. It's a weak link in our body, one that we want to work on strengthening. Bringing your legs back into tabletop, you're going to scissor your legs front and back, flexing that foot, both legs long. Notice how I'm pressing in and not pulling behind. The pulling behind will automatically bend the knee. You want to keep the leg straight to get a more effective stretch and assist with that oppositional engagement of that thigh. Breathe with it. Support your head if your neck is tired. Supporting that head now going into leg lowers. The leg lowers challenging the core stability of the pelvis. There should be no movement with your low back. Work within your range of motion what works for you. Notice that as I return, that my knees stay over my hip and not go beyond, maintaining that neutral pelvis. Make note of the lower end range of this movement as we'll use it in the next exercise. Bring your legs in, a quick hug, and then hands by your side. You're going to inhale and exhale, lift up. Inhale, open up. Exhale, circle the arms. Inhale, rest, bringing the legs in. Exhale, lift, open, circle the arms, bring the legs in. Reaching up, notice as my arms go overhead, my head stays up. Notice that the height of my leg depends on what my core is doing. A little faster now, you're going to reach and bring it in. Your head can stay up or go down and up. Breathe with this. Only one more. Bringing it in, giving it a hug on your next one. Roll to your side. Straight line from the tip of your head to your toes. Your top hip on top of your bottom hip. Squeezing those legs together, lifting those legs up and down. Feel the length of those feet pulling away from the hip. The side of the waist being stable against the mat. Feeling that side muscle in the low back, that QL working. If your legs are going high, is that hip moving? Placing your hand on your hip will bring further realization of your hip, or keeping it on the floor for balance. Holding it up and scissoring your legs front and back. Bringing it together and down. Lift that top leg up, pull it from the hip as you circle that leg around, about the size of a magic circle. Feel the movement of that ball in the socket of your hip. Is it smooth? You want to do 8 to 10 in each direction. Moving that leg while keeping your hips stable. Leg movement with pelvic stability. Bring that leg in, give it a hug. And then rolling to your back, cross that leg over, just getting a nice side stretch. Oppositional pull with that shoulder will give you a shoulder stretch as well. Maybe extending that leg pulling your hip back just a little bit to increase the stretch in the hip. Bringing it in and returning, and then rolling to your other side. Straight line from head to toes, using your hand on your hip to feel the alignment and seeing your toes just out of the tip of your... So hand can stay on that hip or go down to the mat for balance. This movement is not about balance, so do what you need to do. Feel length with those legs pulling out of the hip, tightness in your core, the stability of your waist against the mat. Holding it and scissoring your legs front and back. Bringing it together and down. Lifting that top leg up, pulling out of the hip as you begin those circles. Does that leg move smoothly within that hip socket? That's the goal. That circle going a little bit to the back and a little bit to the front. The top of it no higher than your hip. Changing directions. Feel how this side feels different than your first. Acknowledge that different and give the more challenging side a little bit more attention. Give it a hug and then roll to your back. So you can take that bent leg across as we did with the other side, or take a band or a strap over your head and just assist that stretch. Oppositional pull with your shoulder. That leg can stay bent or straighten. Pull that right hip back just a little bit to give you just a little bit more stretch. And releasing it. Rolling to your back, bringing your legs into tabletop again, and going into windshield wiper prep. So hands and knees moving in opposition, just about 6 to 8 inches. Stabilize, not allowing the hip to lift, and feel the engagement of the core. Bringing your arms out to a side, using that engagement now for windshield wiper, feeling the core bringing those legs back. Come back as slowly as you go over, counting, feeling the core pulling you up. The slower, the more challenging, as you need to control it. Giving an oppositional pull to ground you and stretch that shoulder. Extending that leg for more stretch if you wish. If one side needs more attention, more stretch, or you don't feel as much strength, give that side more attention. Extend those legs up and open them to the side, pulling apart and not towards you, keeping that neutral spine. Bring those legs together and come up into teaser. Bringing those feet down, lead with your chest as you hinge and fold. Scoop your belly, soften your knees as you roll back. Create lightness with your glutes. Open those legs to the side, assisting a stretch. Coming up into teaser, feel the core pulling you up. hinge and fold. Scoop the belly and roll back, going as far as you want, as long as you can control it. And coming back. Opening those legs, knees staying hip level, and coming up. See the core pulling and feel the core pulling you up. Boomerang. This is boomerang. You could go over further as long as you stay on that shoulder girdle. One more. Add some momentum as needed for you to come up using your core and not pulling with your shoulders. Rolling back, hinging and lifting those legs up and coming down using the belly and not the hips. One more opening and coming up. Staying in that teaser, twisting, bringing through the rib cage, the shoulders and the knees in opposition direction. What we did laying on our backs with windshield wiper prep. Are you breathing? And scooping and rolling all the way back. Stretching out, you deserve a good stretch. Rolling to laying face down. Coming onto your forearms, engaging those shoulders, not slouching, but lifting up tall. Your belly is tight against the mat, and flexing and pointing that foot as you lift and stretch your leg. See how I create a little bit of lift with my thigh, engaging my glutes and my hamstrings. But the lift is small, not going into my low back. My shoulders are still engaged as I stabilize this movement. Coming down, bringing your hands by your side, curling under your toes, lifting up shoulders, head, and hands, moving from the shoulders. As you do that, engage your legs, lightness with your thighs, stabilizing. If you have a lot of range of motion, bringing your hands underneath your head is an option. But don't hinder that range of motion with that move. Lifting up, adding a twist, working those posterior obliques. Know that you can change your hand and arm position at any time. Finishing up, just wiggling those hips side to side. Bring your hands by your side, maybe clasp them, and then bend elbows and knees. Lifting up, straighten. Bend as you turn your head to one side. Feel length from your head to your feet. Balance the height of the shoulders with your feet. Breathe an inhale and an exhale. Trying to let those elbows drop as you come in, stretching out that shoulder. Using your glutes and your hamstrings with this move, you should be feeling that. Coming up onto all fours, hinging back, opening up your chest and then hinging back, and then folding over. Coming to just face your mat sideways, reaching those arms out in front. And then walking your arms over to your right, grabbing those fingertips into the mat as you pull away with your hip. Lifting up, come down and drop that right hip, feeling a hip stretch, and going back, feeling a shoulder stretch. Moving in and out of this using your breath. It should feel good. Staying here is an option, or going into a pike. Lowering down and up. Notice with the pike that I don't lose the shoulders on this move. This is the snake, an X move connecting shoulder to hip. See the twist that I gave the snake. Coming to your knees and stretching, coming back sideways to the mat. And then reaching out over to your left, pulling from finger to hip, just getting an awesome side stretch. Dropping your hip, and then coming back and stretching. Moving in and out, feeling a hip stretch, and then a shoulder stretch. But working that entire kinetic chain of that core. Going into the pike if you're wanting to, just to bring up that intensity or not. Feel and see the shoulder engagement. And then adding that twist if you want. Breathing throughout. Coming down, back into child's pose. Turning sideways, utilizing your mat again. Child's pose again, fingers pulling away, and then lift up and drop into a plank. Engage your shoulders and core, knees or toes. Moving back into child's pose, pulling with the fingers to get that shoulder stretch. And then coming back into your plank, knees or toes. So do any combination that you wish. Going into pike or child's pose. Head is lifted and heels are back. Notice that my pike is bent leg because my focus is on length of my spine. Breathe with this. Let the flow be determined by your breath. Sitting back, relax those shoulders. So taking your pillow or not and getting your band and putting the width of the band on the mat or the pillow and sitting on that band. Getting your towel as well if you have one. And if you don't have a band, that's fine. You can do this without the band. Putting that towel underneath your upper arm, grabbing the band with your palm up, hugging that upper arm to the side, to the towel, open and close. Give that furthest range a little bit of a pause. The first couple should be doable. And then you should be able to feel the work. Know that you can do this without a band. You adding the resistance of pushing that end range. Adding a twist with the move will just give you a little more. Finishing that last one. So now grabbing band or not, putting the towel underneath in order to keep that upper arm. This is an isolation move. That rotator cuff is what's working. Muscles that we use in daily life, but very challenging to strengthen. I'm just moving the towel as I transition from band or no band. So if you're feeling this in your shoulder, you've got something going on with your shoulder, or if you're feeling it in the mid part of that upper arm, your bicipital groove, that's your rotator cuff. You will feel this in your weakest link. Give attention to that weak link. So adding a little bit of resistance to that end range. Roll your shoulders forward and back. Hands in front of your chest, you're going to twist over one knee and then coming back. Again, notice that the movement comes from the core, the obliques in my ribcage area. Breathing should be an issue as you're moving the muscles around the lungs. You're now going to twist and scoop your belly as you stretch over. Reach out to stretch that shoulder and then scoop and roll up. Inhale, lengthen and twist. Scoop the belly as you stretch over, reaching with your arm and scoop and come up. Inhale, stretching over. Reach with that right arm to stretch that shoulder, pull down on that right hip. Scoop the belly as you come up. And one more, twisting to the left. Scoop as you stretch over. Reaching through that left arm, pulling down on that left hip. And coming back to center. Take a deep breath in and bend to your left. Twisting in to feel that shoulder and rotator cuff stretch. And coming up. Leaning to your right. And twisting in to feel that shoulder stretch. And coming up. Bring your hand to your head as you assist a neck stretch, reaching that arm out. And then dropping your chin, coming to center and up. Taking that right arm and pulling that right ear down as you pull away with that left arm. And then coming to center and coming up. Take a deep breath in, or roll your shoulders first. Take a deep breath in and release it. Give yourself one more deep breath in and release it. Thank you for taking some time to join us. Hope that this helped you and made you feel better. Have a great day.